Every day, babies are born with an assigned yet totally random gender, and then expected to live the rest of their life under these specific gender roles. If you're born with a penis, you act like a boy, and if you're born with a vagina, you're supposed to act like a girl. But things can be more complicated than that, and more people today are taking back the power to choose what pronoun they want to identify as. Whether you go by she, him, or they, the gender spectrum is much larger than what we were originally taught. I want to be able to relearn and fully realize the struggles and complete misunderstandings of my trans and non gender conforming friends. I also want my straight cis friends that aren't so educated on the matter to maybe unlearn some bad habits. In this episode, the ever so graceful Nick Wittkopf joins Fake Therapy to discuss queer representation. Thank you so much for teaching a boring cis woman like me a thing or two instead of telling me to go fuck off and read a book. I understand that it's not the job of my queer friends to teach me their lifestyles, but it sure means a lot. Please enjoy this episode and thank you for listening. Hi, everyone. Thank you for listening and choosing again to listen to another episode of Fake Therapy. As you know, my name is Maria Womack, but what you might not know is that my pronouns are she/her. So I just wanted to let you know. Today's episode is especially special because I am with my good pal, Nick Wittkopf.
Hello.
Hi, thanks for coming.
What's up?
I've been so happy to have you here because we've been talking about it for a while, kind of.
Yeah.
And now I'm finally in town and it just worked out.
I just want to let you know that is not the only thing that was keeping me from doing this podcast. Like, I totally would have drove out to Pensacola to meet up with you. I just didn't have like a good day to do it, you know?
I know. It is hard, like, getting your schedule matched up with other people's schedule.
Yeah.
It sucks a lot. Like, I would love to do these weekly, but because of, like, my schedule too, and it's not like, just me waiting on other people. Like, some people are, like, hitting me up all the time, and I'm like, no, I can't do it this time
Oh
or
my
this
God,
time or
you're
this time or
famous.
this time. No, I'm not famous. I'm not trying to make it sound like that.
No, I was kidding. Just to let y'all know.
But, yeah, how do we know each other? How did we meet?
Well, let me tell the viewers since you already did. I go by he, him, or they, them, and on the occasion she, her. But I met you like 3.5 years ago because I used to work with our good friend Stacy Nye. We worked together at Starbucks so long ago, and as soon as we got to know each other, she started introducing me to her crowd, and I introduced her to my crowd. And you and
Intertwining.
Lane were part of her little crowd. So I was like,
Very
oh
much
my
so.
gosh. And you guys were very exciting people to meet, especially in
Really?
Panama City. Yeah.
Oh,
Like
that's
when I moved
nice.
here, I was like, oh no. Oh no.
I can see that. I've been like that too to people. But yeah, you're
It's
different
easy to be
too.
negative. Yeah.
It is easy to be negative.
I'm more positive now.
But even in a negative light, you shine,
Oh,
darling.
thanks.
Let me turn my phone off. I'm so sorry. But anyway, what are we here to talk about today? We're talking about like gender identification, which is something that's really important to talk about, especially in modern day. I feel like so many people like need to speak so loudly about it to educate, and at the same level, there are so many people that have so many questions, whether it's like mean questions or if it's like genuine, like wanting to know answers questions to like understand it more. Don't you think?
I definitely think that a lot of people's curiosity really hinders them from asking the right questions. It's a very interesting topic, And a lot of people are curious whenever they see someone gender nonconforming, or whether or not you come across someone you don't really like know how to refer to them. A lot of people will address it in the wrong way, and they'll probably say the wrong things, put their foot in their mouths, and most of the time it's completely like just ignorance is bliss and they just literally didn't know anything. And other times it's people who have been taught several times over and over and they just don't really want to get with the shits, you know?
Yeah, I mean, unless you know somebody personally, then this idea can be, like, kinda new to a lot of
Yeah.
people. So, I mean, it seems like a new movement or whatever, but it's really not, though.
No, it's pretty dated. And by dated, I mean there are gender nonconforming people in ancient drawings from very ancient civilizations. It is nothing new.
That is so
Um,
interesting.
it's something that got lost with colonization and the white European settlers who went everywhere did not at all like the idea of anyone being in between the binary. They ridiculed any Native Americans who identified as, um, I'll just say gender nonconforming. I know they have a lot of words in their culture to describe it. I've heard of
Okay.
two spirit. I've heard of other words that I can't pronounce because I'm white as hell and
That's
I can't
okay.
even speak Spanish very straight. Um, but no, it's definitely something that was killed by colonization, and it's had to be relearned over the past few centuries, as Americans modernize more and more.
Mhm. So, tell me again what your pronouns are.
Um, I respond to really anything, but at the end of the day, what makes me feel the best is they, them.
Okay.
I am not too strict about it because I know that my presentation is I'll not say masculine, but, a lot of people do perceive me as a he, him, and that's understandable. It is with most of my presentation, but at the end of the day, I just feel non-binary, which is kind of like a synonym to the umbrella term of gender nonconforming, just anyone who lives in between this binary that the world has created of just male or female, that is the binary.
Okay.
Um, but people who are in between that, the umbrella term is gender nonconforming, but there's so many titles under it. There's trans, there's gender queer, there's gender fluid, there's pangender, there's bigender. Um, I can't really name every single one of them because it's evolving every single day. But
Mhm.
I identify as just gender queer because I'll have my nights where like me and the girls go out and we do ourselves up and
Right, yeah. I
it's
was gonna
fun
ask you,
to
like,
embrace that.
how does someone know what I mean, I know the whole point is to not put yourself in a box, but,
Yeah.
like, how do you know, like, what term you use for yourself? Like, how do
Um,
you pick non-binary or, like, genderqueer or, like, all those things you just listed? Or does it describe it
I
all?
mean, just it just really depends on who you are. Like at the end of the day, everyone needs to know like yes, there are other people similar to me, but all of us are completely unique. Not one person's story is going to be the same as another. So a lot of trans people don't even realize that they're trans until they're in their 50s.
Oh my god.
But a lot of trans people nowadays vocalize this to their parents when they are toddlers. And if you are lucky enough, you'll have a parent who will hear you out and they'll be like, okay, well, let's go with this. A lot of parents like to say, like, oh, well, I guess we'll go with this. And if you change your mind, you just let me know. And that really
God.
shouldn't be what a kid should hear. Like, oh, like I can just change my mind.
Yeah,
It's
I kinda
you
want
should feel
to
supported.
I do feel kind of uncomfortable with the idea of, like, kids not really knowing all that is out there and, like, having a lot of world life experience. like not knowing what I want to change my gender means and like the seriousness that goes along with it.
And that complete naivety for a child to not know anything about any of that and to vocalize something to their parents, like, I feel like a girl. Like, if your little boy tells you, "I feel like a girl," or "I'm a girl," then it's pretty cut and dry,
Yeah,
to me. I know it doesn't seem like that to a lot more conservative people, but, for someone who has no knowledge of what that statement entails, to just say it out loud and be straight up, that takes a lot of courage. And there's a lot of truth to it too, because you as an adult knowing what your child could go through after making that choice, um, that shouldn't decide for you whether or not you're going to support the kid. You
right.
should just let it be and let your child identify and express however they would like. Um, and be there for them if they're ever beat down
Of
about it.
course, of course.
Because that's just humanity. We should just love each other instead of put each other down. And if you see someone that you feel like you've never seen anyone like that before, like, that's none of your business.
What do you think about like the parents that are like, oh, like if you want to be a boy, you can be a boy, but if you change your mind, that's okay. But that's not okay. Like you
Because
gotta let
putting that notion into a kid, like, yeah, you're right. Like, putting that notion into a kid, um, they shouldn't think about that.
like
Like,
it shouldn't be
they
no
shouldn't be like,
so
"Oh, well, yeah, I'll
yeah.
just change my mind one day." Like,
It
no,
shouldn't
like,
be
let them
so
embrace whatever they are embracing.
right. It shouldn't be no so nonchalant though. Don't you think? Like isn't it such
Yeah.
a big deal
It is a big
what you choose
deal.
your pronouns to be? And I mean, like would it be weird for you now to be like I would rather go by they them, but then like you change your mind? Would people think that's weird or like that you were like faking it or
So,
something?
you're
How is
onto
that viewed?
something. The way I view gender is just complete fluidity.
Okay.
To anyone listening who isn't that well versed with gender or sexuality or anything of the sort, sexuality and gender identity are completely different things.
Okay.
Um, you need to think of it, or it makes it easier to think of it as sexuality is who you want to go to bed with, and gender identity is who you want to go to bed as.
Totally. I
Um,
understand that.
so it makes it pretty easy for people to understand once they hear like a statement like that, when it's a very like this and this, like, there you go. For people who still don't understand it after I say that, I don't see myself being stagnant in any one box. I could wake up tomorrow and probably want to identify as she, her from here on out. I don't see that in my future, but life throws curveballs at you, and whatever situations you're put through, like, you can learn a lot about yourself through life, and sometimes your identity will change with that, and that's okay.
Yeah, that's true. I guess,
Um,
like, identifying as non-binary, that kinda, like, covers all of your bases
yeah.
instead of just being like, "Oh, identify as this only."
Yeah, I really like the word non-binary because to anyone who is in the LGBTQ community, they'll see that as, well, okay, so this person doesn't really subscribe to male or female roles. They are a very in between person, and it is safe to assume from here on out they prefer they them pronouns. However, if you are still unsure about someone's pronouns, it's always respectful to just say, "Hey, I want to address you correctly from here on out. I was just wondering, what are your pronouns?" And that's a very nice way to ask someone, basically, like, "Are you a dude or are you a girl?"
Ooh, I would never say
Because that
that.
is the wrong way to say that. Yeah,
If
you should
any
just say, "What are your pronouns?"
if any instance of where I met someone and I wasn't sure, I would just, like, probably avoid the topic and just call them by their name.
That's
But
also very
is it mean
safe.
of me to not make it about that and not bring attention to that at all? Is that, like, making it seem like I'm, like, scared of it? Because 'Cause I'm not scared of it, I just don't wanna get it wrong, so I'll just call them by their name, and I won't address the pronoun in general?
I guess it would just depend on your body language. Like, as long
Okay.
as you're just like chilling with them and addressing them by their name and like skirting from pronouns and gendered topics,
Right, that would be
they
me.
wouldn't suspect a thing. But if you're gonna like be like skittish when you're talking, they're like, oh, they're like totally thinking about like, how do I refer to this person?
Yeah, I don't think that I would
But I've always told
ever.
my brothers, like, just like call someone by their name, refer to them as they, them.
Have you ever had to, like, talk to your brothers about it? Like,
Yeah.
what have they thought about it? Have they thought it was weird or, like, had questions about it? Or, like,
They
been judgmental about it at
they
all?
never like have like an aversion to the topic. Most of the time I'm just like spewing information at them and they're just like, "All right, I'm listening."
Okay, well,
Cuz
that's great that
they
they
know
have
that it's good
you.
for them
Yeah.
to know that for like in the future whenever they meet gender nonconforming people, like how to politely address them and how to treat them like any other human, which shouldn't really be a complication, but in the modern
Right.
world I guess it is.
It is, like, I work at a hair salon. Recently, this woman came in. I would call her a woman because although she had a masculine build, like, prior, she was a man and is, like, uh,
Are you saying like,
transcending into a
oh,
woman.
okay.
So, she was very tall and, like, kinda, like, awkward moving, like, not moving very, like, womanly, like it was, like, a
It
new
was just
thing.
more stiff, like
Yeah.
getting used
And
to
she was very
it.
tall too and, like, like, a bigger build, but she was wearing, like, women's clothes, so I'm like, "Okay, that's a woman." I would think, I don't know. And then, like, this other girl was doing her hair and blah, 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 and then when she left, like, she was like, "Oh, I didn't really know, like, what to call him or whatever," and I think I said "him" accidentally, but she was in there, woman's clothes, getting a woman's haircut.
I
I don't
think
know.
I think in your head, like, you know how to refer to someone who's expressing themselves so femininely. Like,
Yeah.
shouldn't that be like such a dead giveaway? A lot of people who are like, whether it be conscious or not, transphobic, they they just don't see acceptance for that person. They just immediately lock their eyes on what is noticeable about this woman and decided to guide the eyes to the masculine features and narrow this woman down to just that and then latch onto it and call her a man
Yeah.
when there was so much more about this person that was telling her it was a woman.
And then when we check people into the computer too, it, like, asks you if it's, like I don't know why, asks you if it's, like, a male or female haircut. And she was like, "I didn't even know what to put in the computer, if it was, like, male or female." But I was like, and at the same end, like, I am, like, looking at her because I notice that she's different, but I'm also, like, wanting her to feel so comfortable, so I'm, like, awkwardly
Yeah.
smiling at her, letting her know that I'm, like, trying to be friendly to her. Even though I know other people are, like, looking at her weird.
Did she
But
seem like comfortable with you?
I she wasn't my client. She
Mm.
was a stylist besides me client, so I didn't
Oh.
have much talking with her. I didn't really talk to her at all. I just kind of, like, gave friendly exchanges, let her feel welcomed with just, like, an awkward smile that I'm giving. But is that could that have hurt her feelings? Like, me showing that I, like, know that she's different? Would that make her feel bad that I'm, like,
I mean,
going out of my way to be
whenever
friendly to her and nobody
yeah.
else?
Yeah, like whenever I come across like gender nonconforming people or just they may not identify outside the binary, but they're just like so queer and here and embracing whatever sexuality they are. Depending on anyone's expression or portrayal they're giving everyone, I just make sure that like whatever looks I'm giving them, they're looks of like I'm here for support. Like I hope you know, like if you get into anything, like I'm over here. It's
Yeah.
it's more so of just like a reminder, like, hey, I'm also here. Like, we're safe. There's safety in numbers, you know. Um,
And that's the message
which
I
is
want to get
sad.
across.
Like, I shouldn't have to try to convey that in my eye contact and like in my looks. I shouldn't have to assume the worst and be like, "Oh my god, like what if someone's boyfriend comes into the salon to like pick up his girlfriend and sees this woman and he like goes off and like beats her." That shouldn't pop up into my mind. That someone else's safety shouldn't be my concern. We should live in a safer society, and gender nonconforming people shouldn't have to be scared shitless to go out in public.
Yeah. They
But
shouldn't
it
be,
is
but
that
they
way.
are. Some are.
So that's
Depending on where you
why I
live.
go about it the way I do. I just always make sure like they know I'm there for them, whether or not I'm exchanging words with them.
Yeah, and I try to give that impression with my eye contact, but at the same time, like, I don't want her to feel like I'm like picking her out of the crowd.
Yeah. Or what a lot of
'Cause she probably wants to blend in, don't you think?
yeah, it's there's a term for it. Passing. There's a
Okay.
term called passing in the trans and non-binary community where if you are going for an exact look that day, if you're a trans woman and you are trying to serve femininity like 100% that day, um, society would view you as passing, which means you pass as society's definition of a woman.
Right.
No one clocks you. No one,
You don't get the
no
looks.
one, no one sees under your makeup and clothes, which is perfectly fine if they do see your real features. That shouldn't define you. Um,
But it makes it easier for those people
but
to like go
yeah,
about their lives.
a lot of trans men and trans women will like they really don't like the idea of being clocked, which means like someone figured you out and they don't like it and you feel like you're in danger. Um, there has been moments where I was, like, at a bar, and there
Okay.
was, like, a line for the men's room, and there was no line for the women's room, and I felt comfortable going in the women's room because it was a friendly bar, and I knew a lot of people who were there, and when I came out, it wasn't necessarily like I was being clocked because I know who I am, and everyone else knows who I am just
Right.
based on my expression. Like, there shouldn't be any confusion about it because I don't care what pronouns you give me. Um But, like, some dude sitting at the bar, like, said something to his girlfriend, like, pointing at me and, like, why was he in there and blah, 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 and I felt like I was being clocked, and
Is
I was
this
just like,
like
"Ah!"
a one person bathroom or like were
It
multiple
was just a
people?
single, like, door, bathroom, close it, and
Oh,
lock
that's
it.
not
It
even
was
any question then. I would
yeah,
not think
single-person
anything about
bathroom.
that.
No one else has ever had a problem with it, but, like, there was one time where someone said something, I was like, "It's none of your concern."
But people have been making a big deal about this fucking bathroom shit too, and that like infuriates me.
Mhm.
Like, oh, I don't want like trans people coming into the women's bathroom because they're gonna like dress up
Rape
as a
my
woman. Yeah,
kid. Like,
what?
what? Why does your head go there, dude? Like, older, for some reason, like, it's a popular opinion in the older boomer crowd, I guess you could call them, like, "Oh, that person, um, is trans," or, like, "That person is blah, blah, blah," whatever offensive term you wanna call them. I'm not gonna say it. Um, but, like, the fact that someone identifying outside of the binary equates to sexually assaulting minors? It makes sense to them, but it's ludicrous to
I've
me.
never heard of like a non-binary or trans or genderqueer person ever being a rapist. I mean, call me naive, but
I mean, like, this world is shit, so granted, it probably hasn't happened, but it's not like
where
that's
did they
the
hear about it?
movement.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, where are you getting this?
It's always the old white guys, no offense.
Yeah. Like any
Just
old
had
white guys listen to this.
I know, right? But I mean, it's usually them, and those are the ones I'm scared of. I've never been scared for my well-being around a non-binary person
Yeah.
ever.
I thought you were going to say, I've never been scared for my well being, period. And I was like, what?
No, I have.
Because every single woman that I'm friends with, like, has stories about, like, walking to a car and feeling terrified.
Oh, yeah.
Or, you know, just all of these situations women go through every single day. And, like, that's where like I overlap with all of my female friends because I share those experiences with them. Like I
Really?
may not experience it as often as you guys, but I know that exact feeling. I know what it's like to be walking to my car and feel like I'm being followed or stared at or being talked bad about. And
For what reason? What reason would you be followed or
my gender expression, like what I wear day to day or the length of my hair, the amount of makeup I have on that given day, or the shoes that I'm wearing. For some reason, maybe once a week, I feel like I'm being looked at
okay.
just because of the way I'm dressing or
I mean,
expressing
to
myself.
me, I mean, I think you're stylish. Period.
Period.
I would think that you're like a passing person though, and that no one would really like bully you or question you about it.
I mean, definitely doesn't happen as often as it did in school. I
Okay.
mean, grade school, when you don't even know who you are
Right.
and you're not educated on these things and you don't really have a box to put yourself in, and everyone else is calling you names and uh, putting labels on you that you don't even know about. You just know like the skewed society definition of it, and you don't want to be that definition. It's really hard to move on and then accept yourself for whatever you educate yourself on. And that's why I didn't really put names to who I was until I was, what, 19 or 20. And I never even had a conversation with my parents about sexuality until I
Never?
was 22.
Oh, okay.
They still don't really understand the gender identity thing.
They don't? You've never had that talk?
Many of my years have been spent just being an ally or an advocate for those people because I'm friends with those
Oh,
people when it's literally
really?
just me talking about myself to them.
Whoa, and they
But
don't
I
get
always
that?
put in the third person so that way, like, it's easier for cisgender straight people to understand things LGBTQ when you just speak as an ally and explain things about that community.
Mhm.
By the way, cisgender means that you identify with the gender that was assigned to you at birth.
So I guess that's me.
So you're cisgender, my parents are cisgender, my brothers are cisgender. My brothers know that I'm non-binary,
Okay.
but it's not something my parents understand right now. I'm okay with taking those baby steps, and I'm okay with the patience, and I'm okay with teaching them things about LGBTQ people from a third person stance.
Okay.
Um,
Well, what's the reaction that you get from them or the questions that you get from them as like someone who's speaking for a quote unquote friend?
it's normally like kind of like I want to say debate, but it's like a very like
Really? It turns
it's like
into
a
like
very like okay debate.
okay, yeah,
What's
that's
the word
fine.
for that?
An adult conversation.
An
I
adult
don't know.
conversation, you know?
Yeah.
Like it's not like a hot take or
Okay, well that's good.
an argument. Yeah,
Well, that's great.
it's like questions, answers, points taken. Yeah, it's always good conversation. I mean,
So,
I've gotten into arguments with my parents about politics and social justice and all things black, brown, blue, and rainbow, but at the end of the day, they hear me out and I kind of get through to them to a certain point.
well, that's good. That's
Yeah.
really good. Have I ever told you that like I have two family members that are transgender?
No,
I do, and
that's iconic.
I grew up like a little girl. They were women already, and that's just how I knew them.
Oh, so there's like a huge age gap.
There is.
But they like had already been transitioned and
I didn't see the transition, but I knew them after the transition when they're like fully themselves. Um,
which is kind
Twins.
of
They were
cool.
twins.
Twins?
Yes.
So, how old are they now?
One of my aunts has passed away, but I think my other aunt is still alive, and they both would have been like maybe my dad is like 50, so they probably be like freshly 50.
Nice.
So I knew them. I'm like a little girl in pictures with them. I'm like 4.
So, like, that kind of goes to show you or any of the listeners, like, if they're around 50 and it's 2020 now, people back in the 60s and the 70s were already embracing their gender identities and going
Yeah.
through whatever it took. Um, I would like to touch on this when you make that step in, putting a label on your identity, or when you accept a huge part about yourself and you take it and run with it, it doesn't always mean like you're calling the doctor and making an appointment to go get a surgery. Surgeries are not necessary for all trans and gender nonconforming people.
And I think that's the
For
scary
some people, it
part.
doesn't that doesn't make up their minds about
It's
themselves.
true. That's kind of like the scary part for me and like the possibility of my future child coming to me and being like, maybe they were born a girl, but they're like, I want to be a boy. Like, you can like dress however you want. You can wear whatever you want. You can do your hair however you want. But like, as far as like going through with a surgery, especially so young, like that's kind of scary to me.
A lot of trans kids who end up going through surgery, it's normally put off until I mean, like, this still sounds like a low age, but there is kind of a popular artist right now named Kim Petras,
Okay.
and she grew up over in Germany, I believe, somewhere in Europe, and she is the youngest person to ever undergo gender reassignment
Oh
surgery
shit.
because
How
by the age
old?
of 12, she was so sure she had been living as a girl like since she was a toddler. There was really no doubt about it. And she's like 21, 22 now and like still rolling with it, still embracing that female
Wow.
identity, which she knew from a very young age, which is awesome, and she was supported. However,
That really is
in
inspiring
America,
though.
it is different. So probably like a lot of doctors would like to do surgeries before puberty,
Oh, really?
or
Okay.
maybe like during the beginning stages of puberty, just so if that child is so sure that there's no more gender dysphoric damage done to them during puberty, because it's a really hard time for just cisgender teenagers to go through and to be gender nonconforming and going through changes that your body is doing without you even commanding anything and identifying as the complete opposite of that. Like
Yeah,
that's
just
like
going in the
so
complete opposite
damaging.
direction. Yeah.
So it's understandable that doctors like to take action as soon as the family is comfortable. But surgeries are scary.
Yeah, surgeries are
They are
scary.
scary
And a
at the end of the
voluntary
day.
one is scary too. I've never been through surgery though, so maybe that's just why it's so scary to me.
Yeah.
I don't know. I would take it seriously though if my kid came to me. I would definitely take it seriously, but I would want to know more about how they feel and I probably wouldn't be quick to do it. I would want to like
Yeah.
know more about it
There's
and
definitely stages of like personal acceptance and your family's acceptance when you're gender nonconforming. Like a kid who just started expressing his now hers um, desire to dress a certain way because gender is so fluid and kids are able to grasp onto that from such a young age that at the end of the day it doesn't matter and you should just do whatever you feel. um
for
there's like
sure.
stages of that, like, yeah, I'm rolling with this now. Yeah, this is my daily life now. Yeah, this is my name now. These are my pronouns. And eventually, like, if you have 5 years of that under your belt as a child already, um, I've seen it
5 years
happen
is a long time
yeah,
too.
like
It
in
really is.
documentaries that you watch, like I've just immersed myself in this just to know more and more about it. Like by the time a child is like 10, 11, or 12, there's statements starting to come out to parents like, "I don't like that thing between my legs," or
Oh,
"I don't
fuck.
like that hair growing there."
It's so fucking sad.
It's sad, and the second that a kid says that to their parent, that's normally the moment it, like, clicks for a parent, like, "Okay, like, we're not avoiding this. This is gonna happen, and this is what they want."
Yeah.
So, yeah, like, kids really should be deciding things for themselves. I mean, like, you shouldn't go willy-nilly with it because at the end of the day, parents do know, like, what's best for their kid. But sometimes what's best for your kid was not what you had planned, and you just gotta suck it up.
Tell me if this is true. I don't know if it's true. Like, I've heard that before doing the gender reassignment surgery, sometimes people have to take like a psych test. Have you ever heard that?
Yeah. I mean, like, it's just, like, for safe measures. Like, if you're emotionally unstable and you're, like, throwing out life-changing ideas like that, that's kind of concerning.
They wouldn't do it. When do they not do it? When do you fail that
I don't
test?
really know. Um,
But what if
I
someone wanted to do it for the wrong reasons? I mean, totally belittling someone who's doing it for the right reasons. But I
I mean,
believe
like,
that
yeah, there's
there
always gonna be people out there who wanna do, like, amazing life-changing things for the wrong reasons. It's just it's easier to deal with the one-offs than it is to suppress an entire community and deal with teenage suicide and adult suicide, alarming self-harm rates, kids being raised in households where they're encouraged to call kids out of the norm names.
oh
It's
my
so much
god.
easier to make a culture of acceptance and self-acceptance and accepting your peers and raising your children right, and teaching them right and putting them out there and hoping that they do good rather than just trying to make your kid what you always wanted your childhood to be.
Yeah, that's bad. You never
That is
wanna
the
do that.
toxicity that's, like, affecting children. But, like, this generation of children is amazing. I It's so weird that, like, we have peers having
I
kids and,
know.
like, toddlers and shit,
I
like,
know. And
but it's
multiple
so
toddlers.
awesome to, like, talk to these kids when, like when I'm hanging out with their mom and, like, I see little Charlie running around. I don't know a Charlie, by the way, that was just random. But, like, it's awesome to talk to kids and just, like, seeing what they have in their brains and seeing, like, how different these kids are now than kids 10 years ago. Like, when I was in elementary, middle school, and I was, like, helping out with the children's ministry at church, and,
Mhm.
like, I would see those kids, and I picked up on cues and gender roles that they're being taught from the age of 12. Like, I was 12, and I was taking care of, like, two-year-olds with, of course, an adult in the room, but I was just trying to get out of church.
Right.
But two-year-olds are sick. I really like
I love
two-year-olds. It's such a good
children.
age.
I just love children. I really get along with kids because 'cause I'm kinda like
Same.
a kid.
And I love it when kids are, like, nosy little assholes and they wanna ask me super invasive
For
questions, and then, like,
example
their parents are really embarrassed. Like, one time when I was working at Starbucks, I was, like, handing off drinks, and all of a sudden, this little girl and her mom were standing there waiting for their drinks as well, and the little girl said, "Excuse me? Um, why do you have long hair?"
Something so simple.
Yeah, and I was just like, if you're an old man, I would have hit you. But I'm gonna tell you why I have long hair. Like, I was like, just because I want to and I like how it looks and it makes me feel good.
Your
She was
hair
like,
is
oh,
so
okay,
beautiful.
thank you.
I'm seriously loving it so much.
But like, you just, it's so much different than talking to an adult who comes at you like that.
Right, because they just
But
have genuine curiosity.
yeah, like, it's a completely
There's no
innocent
tone.
statement. They're just like, why do you have long hair? And when I, like, said such a clear answer and it was just super simple, her mom, like, made eye contact with me and she was just like, thank you. And it seemed like
Aw.
her mom was, like, also telling her things like that. Like, I just imagine kids in a car, like, with their mom and seeing someone on the side of the road and, like, asking their mom a question about that person. Like, just as a responsible parent, you should be like, well, that's how they decide to dress today, or that's who they
I think
are,
I'd
like,
be good at that.
right?
Teaching a kid, like how to
That's
be
the
a
only
person
reason
in
why I
general.
would like to have kids, but there's so much money and I'm poor. So
For now,
and also I'm not into girls right now, so I don't know how I'm gonna have a
you could
baby.
adopt a baby, huh?
Stop it. Stop it. I don't want one. You get one and I'll help parent it.
Sure, you could
Oh my god,
babysit.
it'll be like New Girl. Have you seen
Okay.
New Girl?
Yeah, a little bit, a
And
little
like
bit.
all of your friends can help take care of the kid. Like
Aw.
Nick and or Cece and
Oh my god, I don't know it well enough.
his name's also Nick. They like reveal that at the end of the series. What is he? Schmidt.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
Cece
They
and
don't call him by his
Schmidt.
name at first?
They always call him Schmidt.
Oh, okay.
But like he's like, yeah, my name's Nick. And the other Nick is like, what the hell?
Oh, because there are
Yeah.
two Nicks.
Yeah. Oh my
Damn. That's
god.
always happening.
What if we had a friend named Nick? I'd be like,
We do, Nicotania.
square up. Well,
Well,
like
it's spelled different.
it's spelled different.
Is that what
so
makes
it's
it
always,
okay?
yeah, it's like always different.
You guys are
with
the only
us.
Nicks then.
The only Nicks.
But it's different Nicks. It is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, it'll be like New Girl. You'll just like pop out a baby and all your friends will just like be around and like either negatively or positively influence your kid.
Hopefully
be
only
sick.
positively. I feel like I want to surround myself
I'll teach him
with
curse
positive
words.
people. I mean, I cuss, so
Yeah.
that's fine. Do you feel like the gender roles that we're taught, I mean, from even like as small children,
Yeah.
you think that affects like the yearning for people to go outside of the box with gender so much today? I think it does.
Yeah.
Because it's very like kind of demeaning, these gender roles that we're
Yeah.
supposed to like go under, me as like assigned to be a woman and you assigned originally to be a man. Like those rules that you're supposed to follow. You kind of want to rebel.
Yeah, gender roles is like it's such a can of worms because everyone's going to like everything in life, every human is going to perceive it differently. Society as a whole definitely took it and ran with it and like there was a very like popular common definition of what a man did and what a woman did, but I my personal experience, I remember growing up and never knowing how to make sense of it, but always being uncomfortable with like being grouped in with my brothers and my dad. And I always
Oh,
wanted to like go
wow.
off with my sister and my mom and do stuff. And whenever my dad referred to me and my brothers as like, all three of you are young men, like you're the Wittkopf men. You need to be good
Oh, God.
examples. And
That's a
like,
lot of pressure.
yeah, I was like, girl, you were like taking this last name thing way too serious. But I mean, like, it makes sense. Like, every parent wants their kids to like go out in the world and be like a good example to their family or be a good, showing of my family and like what my parents did to make me who I am. I bet my parents are like really proud of everything me and my siblings have done. And they're like, yeah, his last name's Witkoff, and but like when you're young and your dad is telling you like, "Oh yeah, you guys are young men and you need to be like showing everyone how basically how good of a man I've made you." Which
Hmm.
isn't what he was saying, but it's how I interpreted it. And I was like, I don't want to show people how good of a man I am. Like I just want to show people how good of a person I am.
Right. It is all about being a person. I
Yeah.
I don't like being, even though I go by she and her, that's what I am inside of my soul. I feel trapped sometimes in like being called a girl or like what girls are supposed to be. Like girls are supposed to just be pretty and girls are only supposed to like cater to men or like be submissive
Yeah.
or God, so many things that I don't want to do. I don't want to be in that box or like
Yeah.
be like that. So I don't
I mean,
know. Is there a side of me that's non-binary too? I don't know how to really
no,
describe
it's
that.
just your common sense telling you that gender roles are bullshit
Yeah,
and that women can do anything that they want.
right.
And men can do anything they want. Everyone can do anything they want as long as it's responsible and it is beneficial to yourself and your peers. Like, just at the end of the day, don't do destructive shit. Like, that's as simple as it is. It doesn't matter who you are, what's in between your legs, or who you go to bed with, or who you go to bed as. Just do whatever the fuck you want. Like, it's not that serious. We're all gonna die one day. Like, you might as well, like, embrace your identity and embrace yourself and embrace your peers and support one another and love one another. Because what's the fucking point of, like, talking shit about that androgynous person or, like,
Yeah,
side-eyeing that gay couple that just walked by you? Like, what the fuck is the point of that?
there is no point.
There isn't. There isn't. Yeah, it's just, like, so bizarre to me because, like, I'm so used to this culture of, like, knowing and accepting now
Mm-hmm.
that, like, I see myself really straying away from how I was raised and, like, how I viewed LGBTQ people when I was a kid and, like, all of just, like, the negative words that I subscribed to using because everyone else used them.
I definitely use those words senselessly.
Yeah.
I never like really had hate towards anyone in the LGBTQ community.
It was just the
Um, but
thing.
I have said like the F word,
Yeah.
like calling somebody that. I mean, let me make it clear I was a child. I have not done it like
Yeah.
recently as this version of myself.
So.
Let me put that out there. I would never. But I don't know. I've never been hateful or like anything like that. But now with like people with different pronouns and stuff like that and things that aren't so obvious, like I want to be respectful and I don't want to be caught off guard or being mistaken for someone like someone thinking I'm like homophobic or something when I just like want to know and I just don't understand or I didn't know, you
Yeah.
know? I feel like I could like be mistaken for that too even though I don't like know everything or like the right thing to say. I don't know. What do you think? You think I'm taking it too seriously?
um, I mean, there's kind of just like a gray area, you know? Like, don't take yourself too seriously, but also,
It's my fear of offending someone. That's it.
yeah, and like shit happens. You know, I have a friend who only goes by they them pronouns and their name is Venus. Shout out to Venus. But like I got to know Venus as she her.
Okay.
But I only found out like within the past year that they like only go by they them
Right.
and that it kills them inside like every time
See,
people call them like she
that's what
her.
I'm trying to avoid
But you know,
cuz I'm so scared to hurt somebody's
in the place that we're
feelings.
at right now, gender nonconforming people, many of us are willing to wait it out,
Okay.
to get through this point of uncertainty, get through this point of people are going to have questions and a lot of people will accept that
But
because
they were
it's,
dying inside?
you
That
know,
hurts me.
I know it's really
And then
sad.
if I found out later, I'd be like, "Oh man, I'm the biggest piece of fucking shit." They probably think I'm so like backwards country minded or something.
Yeah. I
And I'm
mean,
like, "No, I
like,
don't want anyone to think that.
no, like,
I want to love everybody
me
and I
and
want to
Venus
accept
are very
everybody."
similar with like how we view these things. Venus has explained to me, like, you know, even some of our closest friends still call them she, her.
Okay.
And, you know, it's just a polite, like, hey, they, them, just like carry on with the conversation. Just go right over it. Remember it next time.
What
Because it's
if
a transition. Like everyone's transitioning. Once transitioning isn't just for trans people. It like when someone is trans and they adopt their new identity, or when someone is gender nonconforming and they adopt whatever is going to be their identity from there on out, like everyone else around you transitions.
Mhm.
It's it takes time. takes time for people to get used to it. And that's okay.
That's good to know. To be patient with other
Yeah.
people.
I mean, I am not a patient person, y'all. I
No?
If anyone that knows me personally is listening to this or watching this, y'all know I am an impatient motherfucker. But when it comes to like serious things like this, I'm willing to be
I feel
patient.
like it is serious.
Yeah.
And I want to take people seriously. And I want to give respect where it's earned. I really do. I want to get all the
Yeah.
pronouns right. I want to know everything. And I want to be like, I never want to catch myself being inappropriate. Like, what do you think is like things that are not okay to say, that are just point blank, like,
I threw out an example earlier. It was just like the rude way to ask someone's pronouns.
oh, yeah. Yeah, you did say
Um,
that.
just inappropriate things to say to someone. Like when you first meet someone
Uh huh.
and like something in the back of your head just like screams at you like this person's different.
Oh my
You're
God.
not used to seeing people like this. Call that bitch out. Like eventually you'll get to a point where that voice goes away. Like that doesn't even come in my head anymore. When I meet a trans person and unfortunately I clock them, that's not what screams in the back of my mind. It's just, oh, this is a trans person. Like, he's identifying as this now. And I say that because I can tell it used to they used to be a woman and they now
Hmm.
identify as a man. And if it is apparent to you that this person identifies as a man, like it is so easy to just say he, him,
Hmm.
rather than
Right.
addressing that little voice in the back of your mind, like that used to be a girl. Like that doesn't fucking matter.
Yeah,
Like if it is so obvious that a person identifies as something, just refer to them as that and ignore the voice in the back of your head until it just goes away. Because that voice in the back of your head is our, society filled with toxic gender roles and toxic masculinity and dangerous definitions of femininity. It's all these things coming to a culmination because you were raised to think certain things, and we're all victims of it, and we're
yeah.
all progressing and we're all getting away from that. Um, so basically, just things not to say, anything that pops in the back of your mind when you meet someone that you are unfamiliar with,
Right.
and just go with your
Just
heart.
learn
Go with your
silently.
heart and go with your brain.
Just talk to them and get to know them.
Yeah.
That's pretty easy.
I like how I summed that up. I didn't even have to give like specific examples.
I think I'm good at that.
Yeah.
I want to be an open person and welcoming person. And I think I do that. I think I'm very friendly with everybody. You
I would
know?
say
You think
I've
so?
never really had issues with you. No.
Yeah. I think I'm just so insecure that I'm going to fuck it up somehow.
Fuck
Even
it up. Fuck it
though
up.
even though my heart is pure, I promise. I'm just like I guess I'm so nice that I'm scared that someone would not see me that
I
way.
mean,
I
like,
don't know
I
why.
get
Why do I
that
think that?
feeling. Like, sometimes I'll, like, leave my friend's house after, like, I just met their friend for the first time. Like, they just, like, brought someone around. Like, the first time I met you and Lane at Stacy's house, I don't remember what I thought about myself, but I can bet money that, like, when I left, I was like, "Oh my god, I wonder what they thought of me." Like, I was probably, like, so obnoxious and, like, so gay, and, like,
Ah,
I just, like, beat myself up, but at the end of the day, I'm like, I'm glad I portrayed my true self to that person, and they can take what I gave them at face value, and I don't care how deep they read into me. Like, at least I gave them a very honest view of
yeah.
myself. Like, you got me, and if you don't like it, cool.
Of
But if you want to be
course.
friends, cool.
But I've always liked you. I have always liked you.
I've always liked you.
Good.
Let's make out.
I think that gosh, where was I going? I think that today maybe not everybody takes it this way, but it seems like sometimes it's a competition of like who's the most woke.
Yeah, I think it's like that with the young kids.
Yeah.
I think it's like that with Generation Z. Um, Generation Z like has such an awesome opportunity to like show the history books and like all the future generations, if we even have any, due to our climate right now. God
Mm,
only knows if we are even going to make it to 40.
scary stuff.
Yeah, I don't want to go down that rabbit hole, but I'm pissed about it. I'll tell
That's
you
another
that.
day.
Um, no, I think Generation Z has like a huge responsibility to take all this knowledge that they have at their fingertips, how they can filter the content that they're getting to be something meaningful and to be learning things as they are still teenagers.
Mhm.
So that way they're not shithead college students like all of us were. Um, Maybe I'm grouping all of y'all into me, but I was a shithead college student.
Yeah, I was a shithead at a
And
time.
like perfect example, like tonight I was at work and I'm cleaning the espresso machine and there's this group of like 8 high school age girls sitting in my lobby and they're the only customers. So like they're talking as loud as they want because like they feel safe there.
Okay.
And I hear their conversation and they're basically like talking shit about this girl that all of them pretend to be friends with. And they're all like making fun of her and they're all
What are
like
they
reading their
saying?
conversations with her and just
Oh
like reading a
god.
text she would send and be like, oh my God, she's so dumb. Like,
What is she dumb
and
about?
honestly, like I wasn't so tuned into where like I could hear like, oh, like this was the beginning of the story. Like this is where things popped off and this is how it is now. Like I only kind of got like really the end of it.
Okay.
And I like kept looking at them and finally like one of the girls who was talking the most saw that I was looking
Oh god.
and like she didn't like immediately react. She like just like saw me and like looked away and then like a minute later she was like, "Okay, guys, okay." And she like kind of simmered down the conversation. And I
Hmm.
really wanted to talk to all of them. I like had such an urge to talk to them before they left.
What would you have said if you were to go back
I
in
was
time?
thinking like in the moment, I was like going through my head like what do I want to say to them? Like I can't just like start talking on my ass. Like I really want to like go up to them and say this.
Mhm.
And I was just thinking like I really want you guys to know before you like get older, before you make dangerous mistakes, like wherever you are, wherever you're talking bad about people, like other people are listening. And you have no clue who I am. Like I could be related to the girl that you're talking about. And like
Yeah.
that shit could hurt my feelings and hers. And words hurt. And you shouldn't be like, entertaining those ideas and that behavior that's so immature and you guys have growing to do. But then again,
Yeah.
like I was like, well, when I was 15, like I was talking shit about people with my friends, but it was different back then. Like when I was 15, it was what, 2010,
Yeah.
2011? Things were so much more different. MySpace was still a thing. And it was like, it was definitely dead, but like there were still some stragglers on there.
Right.
Like that just goes to show you like Facebook was still new. It was Facebook before it got overrun by Republican ads and conservatives. It was just raw, real Facebook. And I wasn't learning like factual, like intelligible and helpful information. I was just listening to pop music and
Right. Well, even if they
just doing
still
stupid teen
have that
shit.
information at their fingertips, it's up to them if they want to indulge in it
Yeah.
or not. So, not every, even if they do have the benefits of a more open generation where we do see more transgender kids and we do see more non binary people opening up and breaking gender roles, there's still going to be those people who are like, no, that's weird.
Yeah.
There always is going to be that.
And it's because behavior is learned and it's not inherited. And those people who are still those Gen Z kids who are still stuck in those conservative ways, it's because that behavior was learned and their parents should be ashamed of themselves for raising a child in the 2010s to think like that is
I
just like
know.
where where are you in your life, dude? because that, like, if you really want your kid to be a correct image of your parental oversight, and like if you want
Your
your kid,
legacy?
like, yeah, like that's your boy over there, like making fun of the gay kid, making fun of the trans
Fuck.
girl, like you should be so proud of yourself, dude. Like
Damn.
in my head, I
So
don't think
shitty.
parents want to be like known for that.
To be the mom or dad of a bully?
Yeah,
Yeah.
like it makes more sense to me, like in today's culture, in today's society, like parents of young toddlers to teenagers should, not should, but most likely are, aware of the progression we've made, and they understand where things are at, and they're choosing to not teach their kids right from wrong. They're still choosing to teach their kids the wrong things.
Right.
So that's why I'm like way more hopeful about Gen Z, because they probably have smarter parents. They probably have more well informed parents. They are able to be well informed
How old are
themselves.
their parents? Like our age? Or are they older
Um,
than us?
it's like, because millennials, as it stands right now in 2019, we range from 22 to 38.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, we're
38?
a really big age group.
Okay.
So
Got
yeah,
you.
there's parents in their late 30s who have like a 10 or 11-year-old, and they're a millennial and their kid is a Gen Z.
Got you.
And like that is like a dream scenario, because that millennial should have so much learning experience under their belt, because our generation went through such a huge shift in society, and we've
And
learned
we're
so much as
louder.
we grew.
We are so loud.
Very loud.
And it's good.
It's amazing to see millennials in Congress.
Yeah.
AOC.
Ooh. Ooh.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're right. I'm glad that this information is more broadcasted in like, more movies, TV shows, music,
Yeah.
our idols, people that we look up to.
There's so much queer representation in our media now,
Yeah, that's great.
and it's only the tipping point. Like it only goes up from here. We Time magazine had their first transgender person on the cover of their magazine in only 2014, and that was Laverne Cox.
Love
So
her.
we have, it's not that it's on the agenda for so much more work to do. It's just a matter of fact. It's
Hmm.
just the way the cookie crumbles. There more is to come, and
Right.
hopefully it's only good from here. I don't see things going backwards unless our country stays under control by the current administration.
Hmm.
But the House officially impeached Trump today.
I heard that.
But
I
it's only
saw
like
that.
halfway over. It still has to go through the Senate.
God, that man.
That
Jesus
man.
Christ. Oh, God.
Get me back on track, Maria.
I
I'm
know.
sorry. I'm so sorry.
That's okay. I like got distracted too, man. God. But yeah, like you were saying, the representation, like, I mean, it's their turn. Everyone has to have a turn. Like we've already had like the cis people. Yeah,
Hmm.
like that's kind of boring now. Like let's see more. And
We've
there's still so
like
many.
so many years of straight, cis,
Yeah,
white people.
yeah,
And now, like in the past decade or two, we've seen such an influx of black and brown representation, and gay and lesbian and bisexual representation, and now trans and gender nonconforming representation. So many hurdles keep getting jumped over, to the point where now it's possible for a kid to watch a Disney Channel show about an Asian American family, and the girl that it's centered around is like what I guess society would call as a tomboy, but she's just like a girl who doesn't really conform to gender roles, and
right.
it's not like she talks about it all the time. It's just like who she is, and it's very accepted on the show, and it's never talked about. And she has a gay friend, and like he comes out to her in an episode. Like
Oh,
I
great.
never would have seen that on Disney Channel when I was a kid, but it
No,
happens
never.
nowadays. Like a kid can go on Disney and see that now, and like find something out about themselves if it like really speaks to them.
Like, we just kind of found out that Raven Simone is a lesbian.
Yeah. Like
Like,
like a few
years
years
later.
ago, and
Oh my
which is really
God.
cool that like she came out years ago, and then like 2 years ago they did a reboot of That's So Raven called Raven's Home, and
Oh
like
God, I never caught that.
they
That
like
already came
did the
out?
show again with her as an adult, and Chelsea, her friend,
Huh?
and I think like Raven has a son and Chelsea has twins,
Okay.
and Raven's son is psychic.
Oh,
That's all I
interesting.
remember about it.
Does
I
she
think
have
it
a
ran for like
partner?
2 seasons. No, she's not like openly gay
Single?
in
Oh,
it. She's
okay.
just like single.
That would have
Yeah,
been cool though.
that would have.
Man, that would have been so cool. They were probably scared to do it. Which, let's make it normal. Like, maybe 20 years from now, we'll see more of that. Maybe 10 years, maybe 5 years.
TV execs really need to just bite the bullet and give the people what they want.
Yeah, definitely. And then there won't be so many people that are like scared to like offend somebody because it'll be more common knowledge
Yeah,
across the board.
it'll just be. Hopefully, one day it'll just be common sense.
Yeah.
I think. Ooh, I chatted
What?
with you about common sense before we started recording.
Oh,
And I was like, I need to
yeah.
stop myself and say that during the podcast.
Right. Because I was asking you
It
too,
was about
like,
the common sense thing that I said.
yeah, and it was more of me asking you, like, what's offensive, like, what's
Oh,
not
yeah,
okay to
yeah.
say, right? And, like, how you
Yeah,
go about
and
it.
um at some point after you watch so many docs and listen to so many queer artists and read so many stories from other queer people, and it it doesn't mean like every single person who's looking for answers has to like completely immerse themselves in LGBTQ and trans and non-binary culture, but it's very good to tune into a podcast like this that may be about the topic, or just watch a YouTube video that comes up on your homepage, like if it just so happens to deal with gay people, like
Hmm.
just like humanize them,
Of course.
because it's not
They're not that different.
like when I was in high school, I if like a gay YouTube video came up, like it's not like gay porn, but it's just like a gay
Yeah.
YouTuber came up,
Right.
like I'd be like, I don't want to tune into this because then that means like I'm gay because I'm supporting a
Really?
gay. That's
You
like
would be
how
insecure about
that's how
that?
young boys think. That's how
Oh,
young boys are
shit.
raised. And
I'm
as
so
soon as you get
sorry.
beyond that like comfort zone, just learn as much as you're comfortable with, and eventually like it this is what I was saying to Maria, like it just becomes common sense to me. And a really funny story, like the other day, my friend came over to my house after she got off work, and she was telling me that um her ex like one time was living in an apartment with another girl, and like they were together and everything, and it was a 2 bedroom apartment. And one day like the landlord for somehow figured out that they both shared a room,
Okay.
and all of a sudden like had a problem with it. And I was very naive, and I was just like, wow, that's really greedy. He's mad that two people have a 2 bedroom house and they're sharing one room. And she was like, no, he was mad that they were gay. And I was like, oh shit, yeah, you're right. Oh, duh.
Was it two girls or two
Yeah, it was
guys?
2 girls.
Oh.
And
Oh my
like
God. What
that's
year was he
just
mad about
like
that?
it was only a handful of years ago,
Oh
like
my
very present
God.
time. Yeah. So I was just like, wow,
See,
like
that's
I'm
shocking.
so used to this idea of just like accepting everyone for who they are and just out in the open, everyone being whatever they want to be, that I didn't even think about the homophobia in that. I just thought the landlord was a greedy son of a bitch.
That's cute.
Yeah.
See, you have a pure heart.
Like I'm just glad I'm in that place. It's funny, you know?
That is funny.
It's not funny when trans women of color are being murdered at alarming rates.
No, that's
Not to
not
drop
fucking
a
funny at
bomb like
all.
that, but it's a super serious problem right now.
I think that's why I was smiling at that woman so desperately wanting to make her comfortable, but like not wanting to be weird. Like, sorry, I keep coming back to that, but that's like where that comes from.
Yeah.
Like, I'm just like, I know that you probably have it really hard and people stare at you or bully you, maybe harass you, maybe you've been through a really bad experience, and
I
know
want you to
I'm
know, like, I'm here,
I know
and
I'm
I'm happy to
drawing
see
too much
you.
of attention to you, and maybe you don't like that, but I just want to make you feel comfortable and let you know that, like, I'm a good person that's here for you. Like, you don't have to be scared of me or, like, scared of what I'll
Yeah,
think of you, you know?
and that's good. That's good to feel that in your heart, and some extremists they'll wanna put a name on that, like, "Oh, like, you're so desperate for our acceptance," and, like, "You're so desperate to show that you're such a good ally,"
Yeah, I
and,
know. See, either
like,
way, I'm
if
like,
yeah, like, don't listen to them.
don't. They're
Don't listen to
extremists.
that's just being so
That's
extreme.
kinda what I'm scared of, and I assume that everyone that's well educated in this topic would see me that way or, like, listen to this and be mad at me. Like, I was scared of that because
A
I don't have all the
well-educated
answers.
person who takes all of that information to heart and analyzes themselves as well as their peers will never be an extremist.
Okay.
Extremists haven't self-analyzed and they haven't practiced what they preach because I mean, I'm standing right here in front of you as a non-binary person who's like gay as fuck and like I'm telling you a straight person, an ally to me, a cisgender person, like everything you're saying is okay and your
So you
intentions are well and I don't see any problems with any of your yearnings to show someone your acceptance. That's complete normal behavior in our time right now because trans people are literally being murdered in America. And when you see a trans person, it's very normal for you to think they probably have a very shitty life and I want them to know like I'm here for them because that's the dark place we're in right now. And
yeah.
that's the matter of fact.
Do you know anyone that's, like, been a real victim because of that?
No, not personally.
Okay, I'm glad. That's
Um
good.
I did when I worked for Starbucks, my district manager was a survivor of the Pulse nightclub shooting.
Oh, fucking shit. My god.
And he lost his ex-boyfriend in the shooting as well as his best friend.
God.
Yeah,
I cannot imagine.
so to, like
That was a
ha
hate crime too,
it
wasn't it?
was a hate crime. It's the largest hate crime against LGBTQ people in American history. It was the largest mass shooting in American history up until the shooting in Vegas at Mandalay Bay at the country concert. I don't remember what artist it was, but I think it was Brad Paisley. Um, Massive shooting there, but to have your community be targeted and be like in the top 5 basically massacres in our country is frightening,
For
especially
fucking
because it took
what?
place in what, 2016?
Yeah. And like a
During Pride Month?
Yeah.
That's
And like a bigger
hateful.
city, it wasn't like a small,
In
like, little hick town or anything,
Orlando.
yeah, where, like, a lot of gay people are.
So I even though I didn't know any of the victims of that shooting, I felt deeply connected to that. I felt targeted by that. I felt in danger because of that. I felt like it was going to mobilize some sort of
Hate movement?
hate movement. Yeah.
Oh my
I was
god.
scared, but everyone is. Everyone's scared of something,
Yeah.
but white and straight and cisgender people have a lot less to be scared of because
You're
this
absolutely
world was
right.
made for them.
You're absolutely right, and that's what the world's used to.
Yeah.
Everyone well, not everyone, but sometimes people have a hard time taking in new concepts, even if they are old concepts, if they're new to them. Like, I hate that some people have to be so hateful about it. I don't know
I
why.
do want to kind of add on to what I was saying. Like it's not the entire world that's this hateful. It's the
Right.
entire European world
Mm,
because in African culture, in Indian culture, in South American culture and Mexican culture, and so many cultures where people of color are the majority, these ideas are so old and normal to them. And every single culture, where indigenous people exist, it is known good and well that people are not one or the other, that there are people in between, and there are people who love people just like them, and there are people who love everyone. And it's only the Europeans that have such a hard time with this concept. It's
Yeah. I
very
don't know. There are
concerning.
some cultures that are, like, farther behind than, like, European culture, like, like,
Yeah, there's like
very
some
homophobic
one-offs
people.
that, are slaughtering LGBTQ people, but like as far as indigenous communities go, like it's such a dated idea to them that I'd imagine like if an indigenous person from India came over here and saw how LGBTQ people were treated over here, they would be very confused and concerned.
Really?
Yeah.
Dang, that's so crazy. It's crazy how, like, different parts of the world are just, like, on different like, I don't wanna say different levels, but they're
It's like a
like
different playing field because
right.
like we may have so much in common with them as far as like modern technology or like economies and whatnot, but as far as like social circles and social lives and what the kids do for fun, like it's so different country to country.
It is, yeah.
Yeah.
I hope everyone gets on the same level of, like, being accepting to new knowledge, to, people that are different than them, and just be willing to learn.
Yeah.
I hope that there are more people like you too that are, like, willing to teach, Like, that's not like, "Oh my god, I can't believe that you don't know that," you know? And you're just like, "Well, let me help you. Let me, like, help you see, like, my side of things," you know?
Which I mean, like, yeah, it's really great that I am like this. And I'm happy that I have the patience to be able to teach people and explain things through. Um, However, it's not really my responsibility. It's not any queer person or non-binary person or any trans person's responsibility to explain themselves to any of you or teach you anything about them or any of their communities. It's not on us. Um, there's there's quite a few people like me, like who do have the time and patience and energy to explain things, and I actually enjoy doing it. I enjoy talking about things like this. Um, but for some people, it's harmful. Um, they don't really like to rehash their history. Some people's
Hmm,
stories are really painful to tell, and that's okay. Um,
I can understand that.
yeah, like it. I don't know. Like, w- do you go out into the world feeling the responsibility to teach all your friends and peers about like your Asian heritage? Like, do you always feel like you should always run to the opportunity of teaching people about your ethnicity and like all the misconceptions?
No, but if I heard somebody, like, speak out a misconception, I would just be like, "Hey, I know that you don't know better probably, but it's this way."
Yeah.
And I would probably admit and have patience that maybe they don't have a lot of experience around maybe, like, Asian people or my culture. So and that's okay. I mean,
Yeah.
everyone grows up with different surroundings.
So like
So common
your
sense
point of
isn't the
view
same to
on it is
everybody.
like very civil, and like you feel okay with explaining your heritage and like um just misconceptions about the Asian community to others. However, there's probably other Asian people out there who don't want to take time to do that, and they don't want to give that racist person their time of day, and they don't
I
they
mean, no, if it's straight up
like yeah, like it
racist,
just depends on the day. Like it depends on how ignorant it is or like how innocent it is, whether or not like you're feeling up to the challenge that day. It's very much like that. Like I don't feel like explaining myself today. Like I don't feel like telling you my story.
that's true.
I guess it does depend on the time or day, but 100% of the time, I'm always like polite, sincere, sometimes short, sometimes I can go on tangents, like an hour and a half long tangent on a
Yeah.
podcast with you.
I think there's different groups of people who are like judgmental and go into it like that already with like a nasty tone. And the people that are like, so are you a girl or a boy?
Yeah.
And then there's the people that are like, oh, I didn't know that like you went by this pronoun.
Yeah.
Like it's just kind of different. It depends on, if someone is being like straight up racist, is like saying all these like racial slurs and stuff.
Yeah.
Like I'm gonna pop
That's
off
when
on
it
that
gets
person.
different.
That's when it's different than someone saying
just
something
hearing you out.
innocently naive. Someone
Yeah.
just being naive because they don't know.
I will admit, like, I am polite and sincere up until the point where I've given you everything I got and you just don't want to listen to me. You don't want to take what I say to heart. And that's when I'll either cut off the conversation or we're just done here.
But anyway, I just want to thank you for being the kind of person who will come be on the show with me and be that educator for me, even though it is not your responsibility. It 100% is not your responsibility. But you're kind enough and, you're not judgmental of me having some naive aspects of the culture of it and all. And I want to thank you for that because, like, I needed that. I needed someone to, like, talk to me on that level and, not judge me for, not being the most woke person.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not gonna, that's not something I really take to heart about anyone whenever I meet them. Like, how woke are they?
Yeah, and I
Like,
hate
I
that.
don't
Some
even
people are like
use that
that.
term unless it's like in a joking
Yeah,
way.
me too. I think people take it too far. But it's like we're learning
We're unlearning.
and we're unlearning.
We are learning and we are unlearning. We're unlearning all of the, toxic gender roles and opinions that we should or shouldn't have when we're all raised. We're all unlearning that. We're all unlearning racism.
Mhm.
We're all unlearning biases that are put into our heads when we're young and malleable. But we're also learning how to combat those behaviors. We're all learning new things. We're all learning new identities and about
We
new
are.
people. So it's a fun experience. I love unlearning and learning. It's like my favorite thing to do.
Me too. I'm growing as a person.
I'm like a plant.
Yeah.
What plant are you?
I think I'm like maybe some kind of flower.
Okay.
What do you think? What kind of flower? Maybe like
I
a
think you should
sunflower or
be
something darker?
like, ooh, water lilies.
Okay. I
Yeah.
like that. What are you?
I am like,
Picture you something green.
yes. Part of the aloe family, like those century plants that you see in people's yards. It's like a
Ooh.
massive aloe, but it like looks different than an aloe.
Yeah.
I'm one of those.
What else do you have going on in your life right now?
Um, well, speaking of plants, like I have way too many of those. I spend a lot of my free time like taking care of my plants or finding new music that I'm not familiar with. I really like to support artists that don't have a huge following, and I like to make playlists and share them with people, even though like no one cares. Like at least I'm
Ooh.
putting it out
You can
there.
make me a playlist.
Bet.
Do it, because I want to listen to new music too.
Cool. I never really like make playlists like just for like a specific person. It's normally just like a
Well, now
specific
you are.
idea. Like I just made a playlist of like every artist I see like being like the embodiment of the future of our music, like where it's going right now.
Ooh, I
Even
love
though like
that.
I'm not a music major and I didn't go to school for music and
But
I
you like
probably
it,
like
so
don't
who
know shit at the
cares?
end of the day. Like
Dude, you know shit
as far
because
as
you like it
I'm
and you're interested.
concerned,
So you
yeah.
know shit.
I like to say I know my shit just because I Girl, I listened to 100,000 hours of music on Spotify this past year. Like, that's ridiculous.
Ooh.
It doesn't equate to me knowing shit, but it means I know exactly what I like and I know exactly what the popular culture likes and where I see our music industry going. So yeah, I made a little playlist just called like The Future, and I have a lot of really cool artists on there. I'll like share it with you.
Cool. I
Yeah.
mean, anything that you fully indulge yourself in, you can become a pro.
Yeah, I'm also I started a new Instagram account a few months ago where I'm just like kind of curating art that I love that I come across on like the internet, on any social medias, really. Anything that like makes me have the urge to just press save, put to desktop. Like I'm all about those pictures and I love sharing them, even though I didn't take them. And I also like to take my own pictures just on like on my iPhone, like to make them look really good and kind of post with like a color scheme.
You have a nice aesthetic,
I
online
really like
aesthetic.
playing with aesthetics and
It's very well put together.
colors, and I just like making sure what you're presenting is what you intended. I'm a very intentional and like thoughtful person, and if I have an idea in mind, I have to execute it well enough so everyone understands me when they see it.
Mhm.
So that's what I'm focused on right now, regardless of my following. I'm not too focused on who and how many are paying attention. I'm just focused on implementing what I have in my head. And I'm hoping that I can venture into this whole podcast world.
You could.
Um, I'm like spitballing ideas with a friend on doing like a duo.
Okay. That's cool.
Yeah, maybe like a little car show.
Okay.
Not like carpool karaoke, but just like a nice car show.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
Not like
that's
showing cars, by the way. Like we're riding around in a car, like recording a podcast and just like shooting the shit.
Oh, that's cool. I love
Yeah.
that.
It feels like it'll be really fun, but it'll be hard to plan.
You think so?
Yeah,
I don't think it'd be as hard as you think.
probably.
Yeah,
Once we get the ball rolling.
put
Yeah,
your mind to it and see what you could do.
for sure.
But thank you so much. I've loved
Thank
having you as a
you.
guest. You have been such an important guest on this show, and I'm lucky to know you. I really am.
Oh, I'm lucky to know you.
Thank you. Love you
Let's
so much.
let's cry and hold hands and walk into the sunset.
That's-
Ah.
Thank you for listening, everybody. Oh, shit. Thank you for listening, everybody. Love you so much. Bye.
Bye. Oh shit.
I know.